He's Bruce the Blog.
And he's Bazzo, and you're watching Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode in the new year of Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo, brought to you by the Penny Saver that you all see in your mailbox every week. And we thank, as we always do, the owners and our executive producers of Chase Media Group, Carla Chase and Frank J. Rich.
Absolutely.
And one thing I haven't mentioned, we're well into the new year, and I wanted to mention it the last couple of shows, our beautiful new set and our beautiful new studio, because now we're here in Peekskill. We had been producing the show in Yorktown, Cablevision Studios. Now we're in the Peekskill Cablevision Studios. And actually, my esteemed co-host, Bazzo, and I really like this set in a different way than the old set, because this is more intimate and homey.
Well, is it true you've read every book on these shelves, or you only read books with centerfolds?
I'll have to get back to you on the next show with my answer, Baz. I'll take that one over. We want to welcome your Cortlandt Supervisor, Linda Puglisi.
Thank you so much for being with us here today.
We're very happy Supervisor Puglisi is here. There's a lot to talk about, certainly more than we can possibly fit into the next 30 minutes. We also want to remind you that we have a lot of our episodes now on YouTube. I think there are about,
20 now,
20 of our episodes.
Denise Wilson.
Denise Wilson are on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you just search for Bruce the Blog Goes Bazzo, easy for me to say, you'll find 20 episodes, and Denise is constantly putting up more episodes.
Very exciting.
Yeah. And we're going to actually have a whole YouTube page or channel.
She's starting to work on that this week now that there are no more past episodes to put up.
A YouTube channel, yes, right, devoted to the show. And also, as we do tape this, and now we should let people know, just because of various logistics within Cablevision, that the show is actually aired a couple of weeks after we tape it here in Peekskill. And talking of New Year's and new sets and new studios, we want to welcome officially Richard Redmond, our new director, and of course Cecilia Masterilli, who is here as the public access coordinator, who does a great job. In fact, Linda was telling me Cecile was your producer when you first started doing the show.
In the early 90s, right? I used to come here once a month for a 1-hour live call-in show.
Right, which is unbelievable.
And I used to have the phone right here and, push the button and the whole thing.
That's something to think about.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Can you imagine what people would say to us on the air?
It may be something only to think about. I don't know. Yeah. No, it is.
It was fun.
It is a good idea. I think it's a very compelling idea. So I just want to mention, understanding the 2-week lag. This is part of my alma mater pride that the Syracuse basketball team is still #1 in the country as we speak. Yeah. Hopefully that will continue, but it's been I think 8 or 9 weeks now. I'm really happy about that. So the salute of the week, and this is something a little unusual, but extremely well-deserved. We usually don't do this way, but then again, we usually don't have sitting next to us a supervisor whose record really, by any measure, is extraordinary, which the viewers will, if they don't already know it, we'll see that as we get into the show. So we want to salute Supervisor Linda Puglisi, because as we were talking, anybody who lives in this whole area, Westchester County, Putnam County, in your own town, the tenure of supervisors, some more than others, some only last a couple of years, one term maybe, and then, and as we were talking, Supervisor Puglisi has been there since 1992, right?
Correct.
So We're talking about 20 years.
21st year. Right,
21st year and 12 elections.
Correct, because I was a council person before I was supervisor.
Right. And do you have a salvo, Bazzo, before we continue?
Well, yeah, but I just want to let you, if we ever do call, and there's only one problem, you actually have to answer the phone. You can't screen it.
I can't?
No, you got to actually answer.
Right. Well,
I do have a salvo that's really ticking me off, and it's got me mad, and it's the media hit piece on the Republican candidates. You just had ABC News interview Gingrich's ex-wife of 15 years ago about him wanting an open marriage, but did they investigate John Edwards having an affair with his wife actually dying? No, that was the Inquirer that did that.
Did his wife go to the press as Newt Gingrich's ex-wife?
No, the press went to her.
I'm
talking about Gingrich's ex-wife. They went to her.
No, apparently she said when she was married to him, that if she divulged certain information, it would end his career or something like that.
Bruce, the reality is this. The press has never talked about the infidelities of the Democrat candidates until they had no choice. Newsweek sat on the Edwards story, admittedly. New York Times sat on the Lewinsky story, admittedly, until the Inquirer made it impossible for that to happen. But Newt, and in fact, you have to give Newt credit. At least he asked his wife permission to cheat on her. He didn't do it like Clinton and Edwards sneaking behind his back. Yeah. But the fact is, the media is trying to pick our candidates. And the fact is that whether it be Romney, Santorum, Gingrich, none of them are responsible for the doubling of our energy costs. None of them are responsible for real unemployment of well over 12%. None of them are responsible for this $1.8 trillion deficit, $16 trillion. None of them are responsible for that. And that's the issue.
Okay.
And I think people should stop just paying attention to these newspapers and actually go online and get real deep information.
Well, you're not the first nor the last to say shoot the messenger or so, but anyhow, let's get back to Supervisor.
That's why I love the local government. We take care of picking up the garbage and plowing the roads and our parks and recreation.
I'm going to do this now because you gave me the perfect segue to this. I've written about this. I've condemned it. I want to know who the sadist is in your town that does the traffic lights, whether it be Westbrook, Tate, Broadway, or 6. You can't get from A to B without multiple stops, day or night, no matter what time of day, what time of night. And, I mean, Saturday afternoon, getting from Locust to Burger King, I can eat my lunch.
Well, the major corridors are New York State Department of Transportation corridors.
And
they're responsible for those traffic lights and the continuity of the traffic lights.
But doesn't the town make a suggestion to them how they want to be?
Of course we do.
And so why does you have to go red to green to, I mean, it's totally stop and go no matter when. And that, to me, I mean, it's in my, I'm part owner of a taxi company, and people in my industry, that is a big complaint. Yeah. Getting from Yorktown to Peekskill. Because Peekskill on Route 6.
But it's magnified for somebody like you because it is your profession.
But also you're really aware of it.
But also Westbrook, you have 3 lights. You can't go from A to B without stopping at each one. Tate, 2 lights. You can't go A to B without stopping.
We have 2 traffic signals on Westbrook Drive.
3.
Which is
3. The third one by the
one is a blinking.
The third one is by the community center.
And one by the community center.
Yeah. Right, that's not a blinking light. That actually, so you actually stop 3 times.
And that's a town road, so that's the town's responsibility.
Tate and Broadway are town roads.
The reason for those traffic signals, Anthony, is that people were concerned about, because it's such a straight road, and it's a wide road, and it is a thoroughfare road, and people were concerned about speeding. This goes back, I'm serious, this was, speeding is also a really serious problem, as you know.
Right.
So, right or wrong, about 10 years ago, people wanted a traffic signal by the community center. So people coming out of the community center, it's used by our senior citizens in the afternoon. At nighttime, it's youth activities, and the weekends, it's various other organizations. So they wanted to be able to get out onto Westbrook Drive And so the consensus at the time, about a decade ago, was to put one up there.
There was a period of time when they were trip lights. So if somebody was coming in, but now they're not trip anymore.
That didn't work out.
I understand that, but I've always had a bugaboo about going to the lowest common idiot. Right. And if somebody's going to break the laws, traffic light's not going to stop them. I've seen it enough to know that.
It helps.
Traffic light's not.
It helps.
But it is very annoying that you've got to stop every time you want to go. I mean, I grew up here.
And of course, that's a gas house emissions issue also. People, people were really concerned about the environment. Like
the exhaust fumes, right.
The exhaust. Yeah, right. We just completed a large gas house emissions study for the intro of the town government, and then we're going to go out to the community to discuss ways to improve the environment as well. Right. So that is one of the concerns also about traffic signals. Right. However, the speeding is an issue, and traffic signals obviously break that up, as do stop signs.
Right.
As do stop signs.
Bumps,
and the stop signs slow down the traffic to some degree.
Right.
It does impede the traffic flow.
Or as they call it, traffic calming, right?
Traffic calming, which was why we did the roundabout on Westbrook Drive.
Like on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, let's move on to other stuff because you know how fast the show goes.
No, I understand your point.
I want to stay with traffic in 1 second. We just talked about the cleanup you had from the snowstorm, the Halloween storm, and that the town, you laid out X amount of dollars, and you found out that FEMA's not going to reduce.
And I'm very concerned about that. It's really unfortunate. To give you an example, the Hurricane Irene, around Labor Day weekend, that is being reimbursed to the municipalities by FEMA.
Right.
Okay, at the federal level, FEMA.
Right.
And we get about 85% of our costs back. The costs being overtime, obviously, for our employees, the cleanup of the debris, the tree limbs, et cetera. So we get repairs to the vehicles, so we're going to get about 85% back in our costs and expenditures from the hurricane. That was about $200,000. Then, lo and behold, on October 29th, Halloween weekend, we were having a Halloween parade down at the Cortlandt Town Center.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We go outside and the snow started. And so you all know, because we've all lived through this snowstorm. Right. And Anthony, you were saying because the trees had the leaves on them, they were very heavy, it broke the branches, the power lines went out. We had 20 roads closed that weekend.
I remember
and
very
then
well.
Subsequently, we had 2 months worth of cleaning up and debris and the tree limbs and so on and so forth. We hired some outside contractors to assist us. Putting all of that together for the 2 months cost about $350,000. We filed the applications to FEMA. We were just notified last week that not just Cortlandt, but all the municipalities in the region are not going to be reimbursed.
What is it? I mean, is it like sort of an official policy that hurricanes are under the jurisdiction of FEMA, but weather is, other forms of weather like storms aren't? I mean, which
their criteria is that it has to be greater than just one.
Right, I was going to say hurricanes obviously tend to cover a whole swath of the country.
That's the word, and of course, I declared a state of emergency in Cortlandt, which I have the authority to do, as did Governor Cuomo.
Right.
And so we were very hopeful that we were going to meet that threshold and that criteria.
One question: because Bruce always says never assume people know what you know. When you declare a state of emergency in Cortlandt,
stay off the roads.
What does that mean to the residents of Cortlandt?
Obviously, I don't have the greater authority of the governor or the county executive, but for my local town,
I'm just asking you, what does it mean when you declare when the town of Cortlandt?
Right. Stay off the roads. We also have a system that we put into place recently. It's a code red, so we have the capability of leaving messages on everyone's phone. It's brand new, and it's and our
robocalls, is that?
Yeah, but it's rarely positive, and we only use it for emergency issues.
Right.
So we tell them that there's a state of emergency in our community. Why? Stay off the roads, and so that's what we use that for. So that's what it means.
Go ahead.
And then the other reason for it is to try to get the FEMA money reimbursed.
Right. Now, speaking of that, it's sort of a good segue, Supervisor Puglisi, into what you were saying, which is very true and a pithy way of putting your record with taxes, that you were the original tax cap.
That's what we said.
Town, Cortlandt, under your tenure these last 2 decades, because you're saying it's what? Less than 2% that you've averaged, or 1% actually.
Less than 1% for 21 years of town taxes.
But but here's the question: sort of flipping this around a little bit and bringing these two topics together. So you're talking about the $350,000.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't the flip side of that it limits funding available to you, right?
Well,
I mean,
we were fortunate, and my philosophy and approach to local government, along with our town controller, Glenn Sestero, who's been with me all these many years, and our team of the town board and our department heads and all, we have 200 employees.
Right, okay.
Has been you need to have the nest egg, like you have it at your house and your family. You want to have a savings for emergencies, and that's been my approach to local government also, even in the good years in the 90s, when we had additional revenues coming in, sales tax and mortgage tax, etc. You want to be able to save some money so you have that to utilize in the case of this emergency like this snowstorm.
Right.
We had it available. Yes, we now used it up, but we did it to help our community, right?
Right.
So we had a surplus. We had a good fund balance in our highway department of about $1 million. So we were able to utilize that. We had it. We didn't have to borrow. We didn't have to take out a note. And we pay as you go. And that's been my conservative fiscal approach from day one.
So now one question: now that you've been turned down by FEMA, let's say we're still in the even when the show airs, we're going to be in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Do you have to concern yourself with the monetary expenses at the time of the emergency, or is it let's do the emergency and worry about the money later?
Well, we do both. Okay, we want to make sure that we're providing the safe roads and clearing the roads for the community, for the citizens. All right? And it's not that we're not concerned about spending the money. Yes, Glenn and I are constantly looking to make sure. Sestero, he's the town controller.
No, she said it.
Oh, I don't remember.
The supervisor just said it 2 minutes ago.
I wanted to ask you a question, because I told you off the air that the town of Cortland's road cleanup and stuff has improved greatly over the last couple of years, and you were telling me that you have a change.
We have a change in our DPW. We call it a Department of Environmental Services.
Right.
It's sanitation, because we have our own sanitation department that's included in our town taxes.
Right.
Our highway department, our parks department, and our water department is all in this one consolidated department. Right? And we have a brand new head of this department. He lives in the town of Cortland. His name is Jeff Coleman. He's an engineer. And he's had many, many years of experience. So we were delighted to fill a vacancy due to a retirement, and after doing a talent search, to have Mr. Coleman.
And that's an appointed position.
It's an appointed position,
elected,
because our highway superintendent is now appointed, and it's rolled into this merged department. We had a referendum on that in the mid-90s, if you remember.
Now, also, when we're talking about, and I know other towns are looking at that, like Yorktown.
For our
but
town,
I wanted to go
Cortland,
on the public record that I recognize the difference now, and it's a positive difference.
Thank you. I'll tell Jeff.
Because a lot of people commute from the Peaksville train station to Cortland to go home, and they have noticed the difference in getting home now.
Well, I will tell him, but the most important thing is the safety of our citizens. Number one. And then, of course, the expenses goes hand in hand with that, but the safety is critical.
But I wanted to also, move on to, a very interesting topic that is now getting a lot of currency in Yorktown, for example, with commercial development. And when we're talking about income to a town and how you've been able to, create your own tax cap before it was mandated by the state. I mean, I think one of the largest feathers in your cap, everybody would say, is the Cortland Town Center. I mean, and some people, also would say that how come Yorktown didn't have that, but we won't get into that whole story, because Yorktown could have had some of that, and you very stealthily, dealt with the developers, and now it's in Cortland for how many years is it?
It opened about 1996, 97.
So it's about 15, 16 years. Yeah, right.
It expanded to twice the size.
And obviously that brings in a very significant.
But it also benefits Yorktown and other municipalities because of the sales tax.
Right.
But the important thing is when you work with these developers, where Yorktown really doesn't leave a good taste in a developer's mouth more times than not. You get your quote-unquote pound of flesh from the developer, but they don't complain about it. I mean, you get the road improvements, you get all those.
Yes.
Well, but I think,
they're not saying, "Oh, Cortlandt is a terrible place to do business."
Well, this is where I'm going with it. You know, because I know Supervisor Puglisi, you're very aesthetically conscious. You know, I mean, I know you're proud of your record with open space. I think you've said it's doubled, right? It's increased 100%.
We've in the 21 years now that I've been supervisor, we have preserved an additional 3,000 acres.
Wow.
And added that to our inventory. So what we do is we have a great team in Cortlandt. You know, the employees and committees. You know, we have a lot of people that work with us in committees. I'm a real proponent of that. You know, to have the citizens. It's their government. It's our government. So we're in this together. So we get a lot of input from the community. I really like going out into the neighborhoods and getting the citizens' ideas and opinions of what they'd like to see. And then with the property owners, the developers, you sit down and you talk to them, and you have staff there, and you have citizens that come in. You have open work sessions with the town board or the planning board, and you talk about, you know, how can we work together?
Right.
All right, to assist both frames of references.
Right. Open space and development.
Open space, development, and then also how can they help us improve the area that they want to develop?
Right.
Such as perhaps giving some money for a playground or an improvement on a road, sidewalks, street
But how do you
lamps,
do it
things
that
like
they
that.
don't talk nasty about you? I mean, there is a difference between how they say, Cortlandt got the money from them, but they were happy to give it in a way.
I don't know about that, but
no, I mean,
but they were we're very fair, and you know, if first of all we try to control the development. We don't want rampant overdevelopment. We've had several master plans and mini master plans since I've been supervisor, and we come up with rules and permits and things like that. So they know what we have on the books when they come in, and we sit down and we talk. And my whole thing is, what is the best for the current residents that live here? What is the best for our citizens and our business owners, small, medium, and large, businessmen and women that have.
So you're not fighting last year's war. You continue to fight this year's war.
That's
when you
right. And I'm, you know, myself and we are always looking ahead. Now, 20 years, you know, you could rest on your laurels. I never try to do that. I'm always, people tease me, you know, I've got my...
you must be in my head, because I got to ask you, do you see the political burnout of a lot of our elected officials? 12 years and they're already done. You're here 20 years. How do you keep from getting complacent? How you just said, I still go door to door. How do you do this? I mean, you're not suffering the burnout a lot of your fellow...
Well, I thoroughly enjoy it. You know, I really, really enjoy it. All my life, actually, you know, from high school, you know, I've been in student government, and my father ran for political office.
And you were a teacher, right, originally?
Preschool.
Preschool
director for 12 years.
Okay, preschool director, right.
So I love dealing with the children and our seniors and our veterans, which maybe we can talk about in a moment.
Yes.
And but I'm always thinking of ahead and what would be new for the community and new ideas, you know, things like that.
And interestingly, again...
I love that part of it, the planning. For the, new ideas that's going to benefit the community.
And when as the show was opening, and the audience couldn't hear this before we actually you know, went to audio, but Bazzo, you were asking the supervisor, how come you don't aspire to higher office? And your answer, which I thought was, you know, really obviously commendable, is you said one reason is you don't want to be in a position where it's considered not only de rigueur, to use a French word. I know these days with some people speaking French is like is a deficit. But
I
anyhow,
took 4 years of it
you know,
in school.
It's you know, it's expected that when you're in that you don't want to take money from PACs.
And I don't. I've never done that in my elections, my 12 elections here. I never take any money from people that are doing business in the town. It would be inappropriate, conflict of interest, in my opinion, and it costs so much money to run for these higher.
Run a campaign. Oh yeah,
you know, millions and millions of dollars. I wouldn't take PAC money.
So not even at state level. You have no interest in that, or state level.
Well, to be honest with you, I have had interest in other executive positions. You know. County executive. I've said repeatedly that that's something that I would be interested in.
I've heard people say they'd be interested in you running for
Well, I was going to say, people have come to you with overtures.
But just out of curiosity, I know we're going to run out of time, but I got to do this. Indian Point, your town.
Yeah.
The governor wants to close it. He says he's going to make. Now, don't come out in favor of closing Indian Point.
Our town board, throughout the years, we haven't passed that one-line resolution on a town board agenda to close down Indian Point, because I believe that when you do that, you're not giving it any thought. There are 1,200 jobs there on a daily basis. Outside contractors come in there, and there could be 2,000 jobs at Indian Point on a given day. Right? When we had the blackout here in, I think it was in 2004, 2005.
2005. Right.
Okay, 2005. It was the month of August, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Since then, there has been no planning at the federal level, state level, for new grid system for energy. How can you close down an energy plant?
That was supposed to be. That was supposed to be the aftermath of that blackout.
Exactly.
We were supposed to have. I remember where I was. I was right at the corner of Locust and 6th, waiting for the light to change when it all shut down.
And we sat in the town hall that whole week. Trying to get the power back from talking to Con Edison. But here's my point on this subject. The point is that you need to have, when you're going to make a statement like close down a plant, all right, be it the General Motors plant in Terrytown many years ago, or this plant, or any plant, you can't just knee-jerk reaction and say close it down. You have to think about the energy. Where is the new energy going to come? 14% of New York State's energy comes from this plant. 1/3 of New York City comes from this plant. 2,000 jobs. Revenue. A school district gets about 1/3 of their, one of our school districts gets about 1/3 of their revenue from Indian Point, all right? And then about the reclamation of the plant. You're still going to have the spent fuel rods at this facility if it's open or closed. They're not in Yucca Mountain. They're not going to Yucca Mountain. They're here in the dry cast storage. So there's a myriad of things to think about when you hear somebody say, close it down.
We should quickly, because we're getting close to the end, talk about the VA. I know you want to talk about what's happening with the VA hospital in Montrose.
First of all,
the fight you've led the fight on.
Myself and others. The chairman of our Veterans Committee is William Nazario. We have a very strong.
Just so many people want to take credit for
Veterans
being there before you when they weren't. I've always
That's fine.
Well,
we're in it together.
Matter of public record.
My father was in World War II. He was a Marine.
So was my father. Yes.
And my whole life, my fabric of my being is to do things to help benefits with their services and keep the services here at the VA, which is in the hamlet of Montrose, which is part of the town of Cortlandt.
They talked about moving it up to Fishkill, was
They want to they being the Veterans Affairs Department in Washington, D.C., which I've been to. I've been down there to tell them, no way. Because we need to not decrease the services, we need to increase the services here. There's 172 acres remaining. They have a plan, it's called an enhanced use lease, to take only 12 acres and a couple buildings for veterans, and the rest lease it off to a developer to build housing. Not necessarily for veterans. Can you believe it?
I know. Yeah, Condos. Yeah,
I mean, you can see, you can hear it in my voice. I'm passionate about the subject.
We're going to have to wrap it up. Supervisor Puglisi, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being with us.
And
we want to also mention the supervisor has her own cable show, and you're going to be changing the name of it,
Cortlandt Chats with Linda.
So be sure, and that's on the government channel.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're not going to come back and visit us again?
Anytime.
Okay, we want to have you back.
There's so many things to talk about.
It goes by so fast.
And these were my opinions. You may beg to differ.
And when Bruce the Blog listens, people such as 20-year supervisor Linda Puglisi of Cortlandt talk, and we're happy to have you with us. And join us next time and every time, and check out YouTube. Thanks for watching.
It's a pleasure.